So here's how to set up the new LifeSine version 2 on a Mainstage computer. So the first thing you'll need to do is make sure that you have it installed in the correct spot. You can see another video about that on our support YouTube. But basically you want to go into preferences in the plugin manager and rescan the devices, and you should see it come up. If you see iConnectivity here in the corner, it should come up as an effect or an instrument, either or. So what you want to do in Mainstage is you have to set it up on the concert level, which is the very top level right here. It should have this little logo normally. And so you have two ways of setting it up. So you can hit the plus button and set up as a software instrument. And we're going to set it up. It doesn't need an input, but it does need to go to output 13, which is the channel specifically set for the tone on the Play Audio 12 to arm the failover. So we create. And then we'll go to click on the instrument section right here for the input. And we'll go down and AU instruments, iConnectivity, LifeSine, and you just select it mono. And it'll run. As you can see, it's already going here. And this is armed my failover. Now the second option is you can hit the plus button here. We can go to audio, create a track. Sure. We're going to keep it as no input because we don't need an input. The output is still going to be output number 13. And I just do it as mono track. And then we're going to click in this audio effects section. Scroll down to audio units, iConnectivity, LifeSine, and then mono. And you can see it opens up again. And we can use now either one of these. I like the audio effect personally, just because software instruments tend to take up a little more CPUs, more so than audio effects. That's just my thoughts on that. But make sure you set it up at the concert level. And if for some reason you have an older computer that you're running with this and the new LifeSine is not available for your older Mac, you can hit the plus button here. You can go to a software instrument, same no input, channel 13. And instead of using LifeSine, you can actually use one that's built into Mainstage. So if you click on instrument and scroll down, there'll be an option under utility called test oscillator. And you can set that as mono. And it's very similar. You can pick the type of wave. I would just use a sine wave, which is what we're using in LifeSine, explaining the name. And it doesn't really matter the frequency. Ours is set at 400 by default, but it's up to you. And the level output doesn't really matter. So that also works. And so even though I've muted these other previous LifeSine channels, it's still armed for failover because it's here. Now, one problem with Mainstage is that Mainstage cuts all audio MIDI when you hit the play button. So if you were jump down to here and we hit the play button, say you had a backing track or something, and we hit the play button, my Play Audio 12 just failed over. And the reason it failed over is because for some reason Apple has it set up so that when you hit the play button inside of here or inside of Logic, it cuts all audio MIDI for X amount of seconds, depending on how fast your computer is. And it's fast enough, our failover is fast enough that it will actually it will actually do the failover. So there's two ways you can kind of work with this. The first option, let me get my Play Audio 12 here. You can see it's failed over here on Scene B. So the first option is they're both in the failover settings. So I'm going to go back to Scene A. But in the failover settings, you can change this timeout so that it is a larger timeout. So basically this timeout, what it says is if you have audio loss or cut for 2 milliseconds, it's going to fail over. Now you could increase this, and this will depend on the computer how much you'll need to increase it by so that it doesn't fail over when you hit the play button. But it will fail over if there's a big cut in audio, like a full fail. Another option is that you could select auto switch back to scene A. So what this does is it'll switch to scene B and then immediately switch back to scene A because it'll see the LifeSine track up again on scene A. So for example, when I'm here, let me try and me try and let you see both of these at the same time. So we should be able to hit play. It fails, and then you see how quick that went fail, and then rearm. So that should work. Like I said, the other option is to do the failover, so I'll get rid of that. And just change the timeout. So you can start at 10 milliseconds and see how long this kind of takes to stop the failover. So you see 10 milliseconds I can play and it's still armed. So that wasn't too bad. And then you can kind of play with it until you're comfortable. We can go to 5 milliseconds, and that's fine. So you can see there's kind of a point where if I was at 2 milliseconds, like I was originally, let me go here. Also note that sometimes the first time you do it, it will do it quicker, but you can see it failed over that time at 2 milliseconds. So 5 milliseconds seems like it's a more comfortable spot. And again, depending on your main stage setup and your CPU load, this could change. So you'll have to kind of navigate that timeout as needed. So hopefully this helps you out. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact us at iconnectivity.com/support.